Hello, hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. Today, we're going to talk about wealth is relative. I saved this one for Tarisa because I like Tarissa's input. And so I saw a post. I think I saw a post or I heard somebody say it on a podcast. I was listening to a lot of podcasts on my way to Wyoming and back. And so it was an interesting comment that the guy said, and he said, wealth is relative. And I was like, that really is true. Everything, Nelson always used to say, it's all relative, doesn't matter. And he would sit in the back of the room and yell, it's all relative. People get into the numbers and they're like, it's all relative. But in reality, everything is relative in life. Like, I could live with somebody that's 500 pounds and be like, I'm skinny. Compared to what? We have a friend, Todd Langford, who he always says that. Compared to what? And so when I heard that, I thought that's very interesting. Because people are saying, oh, I can live on $1 million. It's not a big deal. And somebody else is saying, no, Mary, Jo, and Tarisa's math is right. Like $1 million in 40 years is not going to be enough money. So it's relative to what we're making now, but it's really relative to who we surround ourselves with. And that's what that guy was saying. I think that we need to sit back and go, oh, who do we actually surround ourselves with? Are we surrounding ourselves with wealthy individuals? Or are we surrounding ourselves with a bunch of whiners and complainers and victim mentality that they can't get ahead, so everything is so hard and nobody is going to have money? And now we're like, oh, there's just no hope in the world.
Which I don't know why anyone would want to have that standpoint to begin with, because it means that if you're never the problem, then you can never make things better for yourself or for your family or for your business or whatever. It's just like, people call it the victim mentality, but I think it's you've given up mentality.
It's relative to where they live. Yeah. Everybody they're surrounded with has that same mentality.
I think that it's like an environmental thing. Like you said, it's like, who are you surrounding yourself? What are they talking about every single day? So it's like, if you don't have someone in your life that inspires you or that encourages you to be better or to do better, then listen to podcasts, read the books, like find ideas that get you excited about what's possible. Because if you're not actively around that, I think it's inherently limiting. It limits your belief system. It limits what you think is possible. Like, I love having conversations with you all the time because every single time I'm just like, oh, that's such a good idea. And then I get excited about what's possible in so many other different ways that I wouldn't have had if we didn't have that conversation or if we weren't talking about that business idea or whatever the case may be. So you have to have people that are around you that are doing a lot better than you and go out of your way to ask that person questions so that you can figure out what they're doing, so that you can emulate that and make it your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's relative. I mean, it's just think about every aspect of life is relative. I think that I would like to make a note, don't compare yourself to somebody else. And you have to look at that. And people might say, oh, Mary Jo, you make a lot of money. No, I don't. I don't think I make a lot of money because if I am looking at colleagues who make a lot more money than I do, it's all relative to who I am looking at, right? Now, am I going to compare myself to that person? No, I am not a comparer of things, especially financially. Or what people have, like things in that aspect, I do not compare myself because I look at it and go, whoa, that person I know makes $10 million a year, but no, thank you. I don't want to be flying around. I don't want to have a bunch of people to manage. I don't want to be gone from home. I don't want to be fighting airports. None of the above, right? So I am thinking, okay, I'm not going to compare and go, oh, I wish I had that. I wish I was that good. Relatively speaking, I'm happy. But I can still look at them and go, yeah, compared to their income. Because as our friend Todd would say, compared to what? Now, if I was to compare my income to a brand new agent coming into the business, then I'm the rich one, right? And so I think it just matters. It's no different than, oh, you have a really nice home compared to what? Compared to somebody that lives in a home not as nice as you, or compared to somebody that lives in a home that is better than you. I think that we have to remember that everything in life is relative, or we have to say compared to what? That person is successful compared to how hard they work, compared to how hard I work. Like, I got here because I worked my butt off. You're not where you want to be because you don't get off the couch. So success is relative to what you're actually doing in life. And so it definitely, it was something that I thought was interesting. I also heard somebody on a pod or on a TikTok saying he knows a lot of broke people that know everything. They have the arrival syndrome. But he doesn't know a wealthy person that knows everything. All the wealthy people he knows are constantly learning, even from the homeless guy on the street. They're trying to learn something. They have no arrival syndrome. And so we have to look at wealth. And we're talking about financial wealth. I'm not talking about wealth of, hey, I get to stay home with my kids. I get to go on vacations. I get to be a stay-at-home parent. I'm not talking about like the emotional side of it. I'm just purely talking about the financial piece of it. And what some people call wealth is what other people don't call wealth, right? Some people can be wealthy with $100,000 a year. And some people are like, oh, I need 50 million a year. Because what Parkinson's law is, our needs rise to meet our income. And so some people need the $50 million a year. But I found that very interesting too, that broke people know everything. And I know crazy enough that I know a lot of those people.
It's like the arrival syndrome. It's like, I know everything. You can't teach me anything. And I think that when you stop learning, it sounds kind of harsh to say, but you might as well just be dead. Like, what's the point then? You just go through life thinking that you know everything until you die? What a limited way to live. What's that saying? It's like an open mind pays the best rate of return you'll ever receive. Because it's like, if you are curious and ask questions and are able to learn new things and actually apply the knowledge to your life, it will work out so much better for you than just saying, oh, that doesn't work, because that doesn't require any. I think it's a lazy way of thinking. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, it won't work for me. Well, maybe you should ask, like, how can it work? Or how can I be of value to someone else who's already doing the thing that I want to be doing, and learn that way. But I think, a naturally curious person. So I fundamentally don't resonate with people that just shut their brain off.
I have a hard time as well.
Yeah.
But you look at business owners, and this happened to me last week. One of the guys at the meeting I was at didn't have anything, lost it all. Guess who knew everything about everything? Guess who the cockiest person in that room was? That guy.
That gentleman.
And I'm like, isn't that interesting? Because we had another guy that did a presentation after me, and his presentation was good. Wasn't great. You could tell it was his first one, and he's just getting into the swing of things. He'll be great in the future. He'll do a good job. And when he got done, I'm like, I have so many questions. So many people had so many questions for him, except that one guy. That one guy, I watched his body language through that whole entire presentation. He was looking around. He wasn't paying attention. They were kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, guy. That guy has stuff. Like, he didn't lose it all. And so it's super interesting when you start watching those people. And the guy on TikTok was just so right. The people that are broke know everything. But if you're out there, getting back to what we're originally talking about. If you are out there and you are thinking, well, that person's super wealthy or that person's not wealthy, why do they think that they're all that and more compared to who they're around, relative to who they're around? We have to think about too, like relative to what we grew up with
Mm, yeah.
and our situation. It's super interesting to me. I met a young lady, and I have friends that are in these situations. They're one of many children, grew up in a extremely harsh situation, no money, parents that are addicts. One gets out and the rest of them follow the road of the parents. The one that got out, I don't care if they're holding down a job and they're actually able to provide for their family, even if they're struggling relative to what they came from. That's a massive success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think too, it's important to figure out what you as the individual define as success because for every single person, it's different. It is. It just is different. Everyone has individual tastes. So it's like maybe for you, earning $50 million a year isn't what's exciting to you, and that's okay. And maybe it is, and that's also okay. But whatever it is, I don't think that you should be shy about going after what it is that you want. Whatever you believe in, we have one shot at life, and I think that you should always make the best of it. And I always call it like the rocking chair test. It's like, okay, if I'm sitting in my rocking chair at hopefully 105 with my wits about me, am I going to look back and be excited that I did this or will I regret it? And that helps me make like a lot of decisions. It's like, okay, well, why not go after this thing? Why not invest in that thing? Why not learn about these things that are exciting to me? So I'm super grateful for you, Mary Jo, in that sense, just because I am always so excited about our conversations. And I think that feed off of each other about like all of these ideas that are exciting to talk about because it just is. It's so much more invigorating when you're having a conversation with someone that's future oriented or things that you can control versus someone that is complaining. That is one thing. I don't get upset easily. I really can't stand listening to people that complain because I'm like, okay, that's great. Now, what are you going to do about it? Like, you could have your little pity party, and how are you going to fix it? Because you are your own solution and your own problem.
Oh gosh, Alex Harbozy was just talking about that on a podcast or on a TikTok video or something that I saw. And he's like, you're just wasting your time. That created zero results for complaining that you could have been using that energy to get somewhere in life. But you
Right.
chose to not do anything about it. And so here you are, sitting here with zero results. Like, oh my gosh, that is so funny. That's like the people that look back at everything they've done and all the mistakes they've done, and then they dwell on the past, and then they have their pity party because of the past. And it was all so hard, and nobody wanted to hear me talk about infinite banking. And I'm like, shit, I don't give 2 seconds about what happened in the past. Like, I am so focused on what I need to do in the future, I rarely stop to look at the past. And I rarely care what people are thinking about me. If I fail, okay, I failed, I tried, you didn't do crap. So I'm still ahead of you. And I talked about this on another podcast too, but complaining gets you nowhere. Do we all do it? Yes. Have your party for 5 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it is and move on. And everybody's a little bit different, but even complaining is relative, Tarisa.
It is. Yeah, some people might not even think they're complaining. They just, think that they're having conversation.
Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes I'm just having a conversation and people are like, "Why are you complaining?" I'm like, "I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you what's going on." Like,
yeah, you're like,
what?
I'm just letting you know what's happening.
And some of us are verbal processors. So we must
That's
talk
true.
it through in order to find our solution. So those of you that are like, "God, this lady really does just like to hear herself talk." Yeah, cuz I'm a verbal processor.
Yeah,
Hello.
sometimes you just have to get it all out there to figure out where you want to go with it. But I think the intention matters, right? It's like if you're just constantly whining about the same thing, just to whine about it, versus bouncing ideas off of someone or letting them know what's
Right.
going on so that you can find a solution. Like those are two very different approaches to the same problem. And it's a conversation I have with my kids all the time. I'm like, okay, I understand that this is a circumstance, but we're not talking about the circumstance. We're talking about your part in it.
Yeah.
So do you want to be the person that's not in control of anything or how they show up in life or what kind of person they want to be? I'm like, how does that help you get better? They're like, it doesn't. I'm like, exactly. So figure it out.
Oh my God. This is so off topic, but I love when my daughter comes home and she's like, yeah, I wasn't as bad as what so-and-so did. I'm like, I don't really care about so-and-so. Their parents can take care of them. What we're talking about is what you did and what you're going to do to fix it. But she wants to compare it to, oh, well, relative to what the other kid did. So see how it's every aspect of our life. The relativity is every aspect, because I could be an alcoholic, but it's not as bad as if I compare to the guy that can't even hold a job, but I'm an alcoholic that can hold a job, so I'm way better. So what are we comparing ourselves to? And I've just never looked at it in the aspects of wealth, that wealth is compared to who we're around. And again, I think some of that is because I don't stop to look at what other people are doing. I frankly just don't care. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do it. And I am going to reach out to those people who are successful that are around me, and I'm going to get advice from them, but I'm not watching them grow. I just spent some time with my client that owns Wyotech Community College, and I don't talk to him constantly, but I was down and I was visiting, and he's like, I said, so what's going on with the college? And he was telling me how the numbers grew and how they're going to build this new building. And I'm like, that's insane. You started with 12 kids when you bought that college. And I don't know what he's at now by 2060 or by 2030. He wants to have 30,000 students, and he'll be right on par as long as he can build all the housing and all the facilities and all that good stuff. But it's so fun to watch him grow and to get that advice from him. But I'm not sitting back here going, oh, I'm a nobody, because he's light years ahead of me, as he should be, because he is much older than me. Instead, I look at that and go, whoa, what can I learn from him? And how much time can I spend with him? And I was an hour and a half away from him. And I was like, I'm an hour and a half away. I really don't want to drive an hour and a half further away from my home, but I will because I want to spend time with him, and I want to absorb as much as I possibly can. And so I think that we just need to, I just thought it was a very fascinating, I know we've rambled for 20 minutes, but I thought it was a very interesting comment about wealth that I had not considered, that it's relative to who you're around. I grew up in an environment where we weren't super wealthy. And yes, I remember the time when things were tough, but I also remember that my dad didn't dwell on it. Like, it wasn't talked about. It was just constant movement of going forward. And we sit around a table and we solve problems. Like, when my family gets together, we'll have all the world problems solved by the end of that meal. That is just how our family is. And if I was in a different environment that didn't do that, I don't know, I probably would have a very different mindset. If I was in an environment where wealthy was bad, I'm now going to have a mindset that wealthy is bad, right? Or I've been around a lot of wealthy people that are snakes. I'm going to assume money is bad. And so I think we really have to compare, and we really have to think about, and I do when I meet with clients. I've met with clients that they've wanted to start policies, and I can read that, that's interesting. This person wants to start a policy. She's been controlled by her husband, manipulated, held hostage kind of from public, so she couldn't be exposed to those people. And then her own family can't tell her what to do with money. So we're coming from an environment that none of that information is out there. So now we do need to get to a different mindset which is going to take some time because we have to rewire what we knew about money because those people don't think that they deserve it. And there is definitely a shift that has to go on when we're in an environment that wealth only belongs to certain people.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like that you talk about like the perspective shift that needs to happen. I also think it's really fun to think about what beliefs you hold true and see if they serve you. Because chances are it wasn't your belief that was instilled in the first place, it was someone else's. So questioning that and being around people that have, I would go as far as to say better ideas about money or whatever it is, like be around the people that uplift you and that bring you like light and joy. And I know that sounds so woo woo, but I can always tell based off of my interaction with someone if I'm leaving the conversation feeling drained or just like depleted versus excited and invigorated and feeling like I can conquer the world. So find those people and hold on to them and make sure that you're hopefully giving them that same energy that they give you.
Mhm. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to be alone. You're not going to have a lot of those people around you. So find those that you can and call them and talk to them and have coffee with them and make sure that you're setting up meetings with them so that when you have a down day, they can bring you back up because it's a lonely world out here as an entrepreneur. And most people do not understand it. I had a huge friend shift when I started my own business because I just did not have, I was surrounded with very kind and loving people, but those people did not have any business sense at all. And so they're like, all you do is talk about your business. Yeah, because I'm trying to start a business. Like, absolutely, that's what I'm talking about, And so it was definitely it's not, you're going to have the ups and the downs. I had a lady call me last week and she's like, hey, Mary Jo, I'm thinking about starting a business. Can I just pick your brain? I'm like, yeah, got a long drive ahead of me. So got 7 hours of my time. And it was so funny because the one comment she made was, I've never started a business. I just really have the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't feel like I should because I don't know what I'm doing. I said, we all have been there, right? Like some of us, and I was actually sharing this with my friend that owns biotech. And I said, yeah, she didn't feel like she deserves to start a business. And I said, I think the majority of us are just too stupid to even think that. And so we're like, hey, let's go. Let's start a business. Because why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen? And she's a little more methodical than that. And so I was like, hey, none of us deserve to start a business. I didn't know anything. I've learned along the way. I surrounded myself with good people, but I'm like, this is not going to be the first day that you have a bad day. So, my number, you call me. She's like, you're going to be sorry that you just said that. I'm like, truly, it's going to be tough. And there's going to be a lot of days where you're like, why? But then there's a lot of good days too. It's like, why did I have kids?
Oh boy, that is a loaded question if I've ever heard of
when they're being little shits, why?
I know.
I
And
didn't
then you look at
sign up
them
for this
sleeping.
part. Like this did not come disclosed in the manual. Oh, there's no manual. That's why nobody's written a manual.
If you see someone with wrinkles and gray hair, just know they have children.
Yeah. So I think that we all just need to kind of remember who we're surrounded with, where we came from. Doesn't matter if it's wealth, doesn't matter if it's health, doesn't matter what it is. What are we comparing ourselves to? And what is it relative to? I mean, they're essentially the same things in my brain. Maybe they're not the same in everybody else's brain, but comparing gets you nowhere. It's not much better than whining.
Well, I think it makes you feel bad about yourself too. So it's like, is that a productive use of your time?
Yeah.
No. But if you're using comparison as a way to, or maybe just evaluating as a way to get yourself where you want to be, then find the person that's already accomplished what you want to. and ask them questions, because I find that people that are really successful love when people are curious about how they got there and what it took to get there versus someone just saying, well, easy for you to say. It's like,
Mhm.
no, it's not easy for them to say because they put in the work to get there. And you
Mhm.
need to do the same. And maybe you should ask that person what they did so that you can copy them. The homework's already been done. They got an A plus. So you figure out how to get an A plus too.
Mhm. And I think that if you're going to do that, though, you go in and be considerate about it. Our friend JLo says you can't withdraw from a bank you never deposited into.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very true. The very first time I met Trissa, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but in case you haven't heard, the very first time that I met Trissa, she came with a whole notebook of questions for me. Like she was prepared to meet me. I didn't even know who Tarisa was. I didn't know she was going to be there. I mean, I just had no idea. She had already done her homework. But when she came prepared, I knew that the time that I would pour into her was going to be utilized. And so if you're going to that person and you're asking them these questions, be genuine and be ready to make moves on that and don't just suck up their time and do nothing with it. Because if you're going to do that, you're done. Like these people are going to cut you off and be like, I'm done talking to you because you're not even applying what I've told you to apply. There's only so much energy that people have. And that's all relative to where they're at in life too, right? When I was just starting out, I had all the time in the world to talk to people. And now we need to be efficient with my time because I don't have all the time in the world to have 4-hour conversations with you. I wish I could, but I would then not have enough money to buy groceries. Okay. Because the more time you spend with some people, the less likely they are to do business with you. And so if you say, hey, I only have X amount of time, they may say, okay, awesome. You're super busy. That's great. Can you power wash my front steps, whatever, my home, whatever your business is, the more time that you have or you're taking up of somebody else's time, that may just cause you to not even get the business. But if you are someone that genuinely wants to be better financially, wants to do better business wise, you need to have those questions. When I visit with my friend that owns Biotech, I don't just nonchalantly use his time. Like, no, it is constructive time. And it's always so fun because we are both learning and he is helping me grow. Like, he just can't help it. But we very much are action takers and we're both too stupid to know that, hey, this could be a risk. But Tarisa was ready and prepared. And I knew, well, shoot, if she went through all this trouble, then she probably is going to actually do something with that information. So
And they
again,
have.
relative to other people that have taken my time and not done anything with it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to apply it. And I think too, like you said, that you're an action taker. I'm a thinker. So I think it's really important for me to surround myself with action takers so that I can figure out what I need to think about and then put it into motion quickly.
And this is why Tris and I work so well together because it's not that I'm not a thinker, but I have to think very little to decide to take action. Trista has to think a lot to
I do.
decide to take action.
That's my processing, it's just how I'm wired. And I would say fortunately and unfortunately. But that's why, again, it's good to be, it's all relative, right? Like I'm always like, oh, Mary Jo just acts so quickly on things. And that's great because I can see like the feedback loop time for you to have an idea and put it into action is very short. Like I remember you're like, we should go on the podcast together. And I was like, what?
Like
You're like,
tomorrow.
yeah, how about tomorrow? And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I guess. And now it's like, okay, this is so much fun. But it took you being like, yeah, like, let's do this tomorrow for me to be like, okay, because I would have thought about it. And then I probably would have had like 5,000 podcast topics. And then I would have had bullet points for each podcast topic. And then I would have felt ready. So if you don't have a Mary Jo in your life, get one, is my point. I think this is my point to the podcast.
And if you don't have a Tarisa in your life, go get one. If you're a Mary Jo. That is a safe. So my husband is he's like far more methodical than I am. And I'll like buy a rental property or I'll buy some farm ground or I'll do something. I'll be like, give you 2 days, you'll be fine. And he literally needs 2 days. And I'm like, it's already done. Like it's paper signed, things, we'll figure it out as we go, you know? And so I think there's a balance there. So you guys have gotten some really good podcasts because Tris is organized. This one's been a little off. Guess who was in charge? Guess who? Wasn't Tarisa.
I didn't have my bullet points ready.
Yeah, I was like, hey, this is a great topic. Let's just see where it goes, you know? Because that's how I roll. Yeah, I'm helping my brother with his podcast and he's very methodical. And I'm like, oh my God, just record. Just record a podcast. He's like, but I just can't talk to myself. Oh, yeah, just put a picture of someone on your screen. Like, just go.
So funny. Yeah, it really does just boil down to just doing it, though, because at the end of the day, it's like you don't get credit for thinking about anything. And that's what I have to constantly remind myself. It's like, okay, great. You've thought about it. Gold star for you, Tarisa. Now let's do something about that.
How's that cash flowing? How's that thought cash flowing your groceries, Tarisa?
Right. It's not.
Oh, Alex Hormozy was talking about that too. He's like, all these entrepreneurs come in and they're like, oh, I'm having a hard time. He's like, because you're not doing. You're not doing. You need to do. And I think that some of it is just like, some people don't like to make mistakes. And I'm like, shit, made another one. So guess I'll learn from that one going forward. And it's not like I'm reckless in my decisions by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all.
I'm like, it definitely is, you know, I just do. Like, I'm just going to record a TikTok. I'm not going to think too much about what other people have to say about it. If they don't like it, I guess it drives the algorithm. So there's that. Always a positive.
Yes. So we thank those people.
All right. Well, that is enough of us yapping. If you guys have not gotten the books, go to withoutthebank.com, grab your books, schedule your appointment with Tarisa or I. I have had some feedback that everybody is loving Tarisa. And so you can schedule your appointment with her as well and get in sooner than you can with me. So do that. If you have comments, questions, concerns, you can email us, Mary Jo at Without the Bank or Tarisa at Without the Bank, and we'd be happy to answer. Have a good rest of your week.